Greetings, Detectives. Mrs. McKay here, and we're on our second learning target for Case 2, Crafty Constructions. And let's go ahead and start by writing in our learning target. I can use the midpoint. I can use the midpoint formula to find the middle point of a line segment. This will be pretty short and sweet. I can use the midpoint formula to find the middle point of a line segment. So before we do anything, let's go ahead and review what we did last time, which was learning the distance formula. And I've got over here in our little review section a line segment with two endpoints. One of the endpoints is -5.8 and the other one is 2.6. And if I asked you to find the length of that line segment, you should be able to do it. And you should be able to do it by using what we know about the Pythagorean theorem and slope. Okay? So go ahead and do that. Tell me what the length of that line segment is. Okay, did you come up with the square root of 53? If you didn't, then you need to probably go back and review or pause it and take a look at what I've done. I figured out what my horizontal leg was, which was from this point to this point, which was 7, and then from this point to this point, which was 2. I squared both of them, added them, I got 53, and using the Pythagorean theorem, I take the square root of 53, and square root of 53 is just going to be the square root of 53 because 53 is a prime number, and I'm not going to do anything other than put the radical over it and say that's that. All right? Now, let's talk a little bit about midpoint formula. Midpoint formula is a new formula that, again, you really don't have to memorize. You can just figure it out. All right? But if you're the kind of person who likes to memorize formulas, go for it. Now, I've got some line segments here that I've created. I've got this one, and I've got this one, and I've got this one. And instead of finding the distance of these line segments, I want to find the point that's right in the middle, the very center of the line segment. So let's start by looking at this black one. Now this black one is a horizontal line, and we could simply count, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's 14 units long, so that means halfway would be 7 units in between, right? So if I count 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's the midpoint. Now, I'm going to go ahead and also then write these points. So this point right here was -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll say -5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, -5, 4. Right? And this one over here was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4. And then this one is 2, 4. We're going to come back and talk about that in just a minute, but right now I just want us to be able to see that between -5, 4 and 9, 4, the midpoint, the middle point is 2, 4. Now that one was pretty easy because we could just count and figure it out on this graph, and we're on the same, our 4, which was our y value, stayed the same. So we didn't have to go up or down in any way. We just moved across this way. So that one's simple. Let's do this blue one. Now I'm going to first start by putting in my points, which this one's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So -7 and -1 is the y. And then this one is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we have to figure out how to get to the middle of this line. Well, what if we first went to the middle between the two x's? So we went from -7 to 3. So if we counted over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then maybe 5 over would make it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe up here somewhere. Right? And then we want to figure out what the distance is between. Let me get my 5 marked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to just put a little mark there so I know that I'm going up this way. Okay? We can actually see where it's going to cross, can't we? But let's go ahead and find out the middle between the 1, -1, and the 3. So we went up 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 places. So if we go up 2, it would be right here. So we're looking where these two meet, and it's right there, isn't it? That's the middle, the midpoint of the line segment, which is -2, 1. Okay? Let's do this last one. Why don't you go ahead and do it? See if you can figure it out. Okay, so how'd you do? Did you mark your 2 points, 1 and -1? If you didn't, go ahead and do it now. And then what I did was I just counted halfway between my y's and halfway between my x's, and I got this point right here, which if I look at it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's a -1, 2, 3.5. So -3 and 1/2. Or I could say -5 halves. Not 5 halves, 7 halves. Either one will work. Okay? Now, that's being able to do it on a graph. We can usually pretty much figure it out on a graph. That's not a problem. But what happens if I just give you some points? Could you figure it out without graphing? Well, I think you could. Let's take a look first at this one, our first one that we did, -5, 4, and figure out where we're at. So we went from -5 to 9. -5 to 9. What happens if I add -5 and 9? What happens if I take -5 and 9? What do I get? Well, -5 plus 9 is going to end up giving me the distance, or it's going to give me the total here, right? So that's going to give me 4, right? And then if I divide it in half, because I'm finding the halfway point, right, then that's going to give me 2. And look at that. That's the value of my x. Let's see if it works for the y's. Well, it should work for these y's because they're not changing in any way. 4 plus 4 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. And so here's my x, here's my y. Let's try it on this other one, the blue one. We had -7 and 3. So let's add -7 to 3. And what do we get? We get -4, right? Let's divide it in half because we're finding the midpoint, and we get -2. Look at that. My x value is -2. Let's see if it works for the y value. -1 plus 3 is -2. Divide that by 2, and I get -1. No, I don't get -1. I get +1 because -1 plus 3 is a +2. So 2 divided by 2 is a +1, and that's what my y value is right there, -2, 1. Try it on this one. See if it works. Well, did it work? 1 plus 9 is 10. Divided by 2 is 5. There's my 5. And then this one, -1 plus -6 is -7. Divided by 2 gives me -3 halves. 3.5 or -7 halves. So yeah, it works. So that's our midpoint formula. If we want to find the midpoint between two lines, or between a segment, if we want to find the midpoint of a segment, or the middle point between two endpoints on that line segment that connects them, we just have to add the two x's and divide by 2, add the two y's and divide by 2, and that becomes our formula. And so it's written right here. And again, you don't have to remember x1 plus x2. Just know you're going to add your 2. You're going to find the average of them, the two endpoints. Find the average, add them and divide by 2, and you'll be able to find your midpoint, just like that. So now let's do a couple. See if you can figure out what the midpoint of the line segment with these endpoints. We have 4, 3, and 8, 5. Find it. Okay, so did you find that it was 6, 4? Here's the work. 4 plus 8, add my x's, divide by 2. That's my x value. 3 plus 5, divide by 2. That's my y value. I simplify things. I have 12 divided by 2. I have 8 divided by 2. And that becomes 6, 4. So my coordinate point is 6, 4. Let's do this next one. Negative 8, 3, and 4, 6. Go ahead and work on that one. Okay, and did you come up with negative 6, 4 and 1/2? Well, let's take a look. Negative 8 plus 3, negative 8 plus 4. Well, did you catch my mistake? Negative 8 plus 4 is not negative 12. It's negative 4, isn't it? And so then negative 4 divided by 2 would not be negative 6. It would be negative 2. And then this one, 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So that one's okay. So it's not negative 6 and 4 1/2. It's negative 2, 4 1/2. All right. Last thing, little challenge for you. Find the coordinates of a point that is located 1/4 of the way between 0, 4 and 2, 10. Okay? So instead of finding the halfway mark, the halfway point, I want you to find the 1/4 point. Think about how you might solve that. What would you do? Well, here's what I would do. And there's actually a shortcut, but I'm going to do it the long way, just so that I make sure I know what I'm doing. I'm going to first find the midpoint. So go ahead and find the midpoint. So I came up with my midpoint being 1, 7. 1, 7. Now, if I did my work right, and I think I did, then that's correct. So here's my line. Here's 0, 4. Here's 2, 10. And I've just found the midpoint, which is 1, 7. So if I want to find 1/4 of the way between, that means I want to find like right here. What's this point? So all I have to do is find the midpoint again of 0, 4, between 0, 4 and 1, 7. So see if you can figure that one out. Well, did you come up with 1/2, 11 halves? Because that's it. Look what I did. I did 0 plus 1 divided by 2 and 4 plus 7 divided by 2, and I came up with 1/2 was my x coordinate, and 11 halves, or 5.5, was my y coordinate. So this point right here is 1/2, 11 halves. All right? That's all we've got for the midpoint formula. Pretty short and sweet. I'll see you in class after you've written your key idea.